Nah, making a video. Modern Mystic video, I believe. Yes. So, alright, he's, I mentioned this, I mentioned in one of my last videos, just the idea that I think Nick has sort of wasted his potential as a contributor to the mind of man, kind of thing. And so it's just curious that he's sort of gotten some motivation to share his knowledge. And at the same time, so great minds think alike, or whatever you want to say. So yeah, so good. But yeah, we're probably not going to agree on much. So far not so good. So anyways, first video, it's on the subject of economics, sort of, and he thinks this is a big idea kind of subject. It's kind of a small, economy is just one part of the futility of existence. So anyway, I'd left a comment on his other video where he was announcing his revelation. I don't know what that was for. Basically saying the only thing human beings need to learn is that they're assholes. And he left a response to that saying he doesn't believe that, and he doesn't think I do. But I really do. Back to your brain videos, our brain games us. We're getting gamed by biological mechanisms, by impulses, by ego, by feeling good about ourselves in some alpha thing. It's all crap. And we subject new victims to playing a crap game where you really can't take a ton of the deserve has nothing to do with it problem. You can't fix that deserve has nothing to do with it thing. You could do better than we're doing, for sure, but even if we did our best, they shoot lame horses, don't they, or something. I mean, it's still going to be a problem because people are going to have just bad luck. Being in the wrong place at the wrong time, and bad shit's gonna happen to them for no good reason. No good reason. When shit happens for no good reason, there's an asshole connected to it somewhere. Because there isn't any good reason. So that to me is the big picture subject, is the recognition that we're being gamed by a DNA molecule, being gamed by a game stupider than checkers, stupider than, it's as stupid as a cockfight. That's how dumb the game is we're playing. This whole idea of my children. I've been over this before, but the my part is idiotic. The my anything is idiotic. And it's just obviously really hard for people to step above that, and that makes them assholes. I'm sorry, when they can't even admit they're assholes, then they're double assholes, and they certainly need to be told they're assholes. Now on to this video. My battery is not low, so I can in fact go on forever. So anyway, alright, so to his video. So he has this idea of a kilowatt currency somehow related to internet transactions. Somehow, okay, so the economy's broken. He did the same, the predictable routine. You have the rich and you have the selfish poor or something, or the wanters. You have the havers and the have-notters. And the have-notters have a control system they want to put in place, and the havers have the leave everything alone, everything's just fine, I'm doing great system, or whatever you want to call it. I mean, the whole free versus rationally constructed, chaos versus rational construction. But anyway, but again, this myopic thing, this not myopic, but two-color, black and white viewpoint of social structure. And I would argue that you don't have to do this draconian control-y thing to put in a few little boundaries. To paint a good soccer field, put a few rules in the game, And you don't have to have any broken legs and carnage and, you know, people getting kicked in the nuts and all that kind of crap. Have a few umpires, you have a few rules, you can play a good game. The game doesn't have to be, everybody has to be identical, everybody has to get the same, and everybody has, you don't have to be idiotic about it, and you don't have to be idiotic in the other extreme where, yes, bring your brass knuckles, bring your, you know, atomic shoes, you know, cheat all you can, you know, fall out of the right vagina, win the game. Yeah, you can get rid of all that crap. So, yeah, it's game theory. And you can do a better game. So anyway, he's conceding that, okay, the conflict between the rich and the poor, they're having this fight, blah blah blah, the thing we've done have all been kind of silly things, and it's going to fall apart, and somehow we're just going to migrate to some new currency, because somehow the currency is the problem, which I don't think it is. So he's titled the video Kilowatt Currency, Kilowatt Hour Currency. And then somehow we would trade, like Bitcoin, some kind of promissory note backed by electricity, produced by the people, or something. And the internet we'd be using would be produced by the people, or something. So none of that makes much sense, right? If the corporations own the medium through which we're making the transactions, and they own the electricity production, I don't see how this kilowatt thing is going to have nothing to do with corporations and the rich. I think it's going to have everything to do with them. So I don't see how that works. And he's also talking like, how would it be? That somehow you would evade the tax structure, and that would somehow help us all to have no more hospitals, no more social infrastructure, no more civilization. That somehow we could have our heart surgery online. Oh, wait a minute, we couldn't do that. Well, anyway, it doesn't make a hell of a lot of sense to me. You're not going to be able to make a cruder system a good system. And I mean cruder in just, you know, some sort of, you can't go too simple. You have to go just the right amount of complexity. So, alright, so I'm going to use different metaphors here, but I'm just going to explain this really quick. That, yeah, I think you fix a couple of things in the system we have and it works just fine. So the first thing you get rid of is inheritance. I mean, big inheritance. Over $1 million, whatever. None of that shit. Then that money goes back into the system, okay, and it's reinvested in the world. And now prices stay low, because that money goes to pay taxes instead of working money paying taxes. You sell the assets. The more assets on the market, the lower prices go. So even if some rich whore wastes a ton of money, you just sell the waste. You just sell all the crap he has, and you keep driving prices down by doing that. Nobody's entitled. This is a fight for your life. Nobody should get a free ride in a fight for your life. And we certainly should shoot every rich person, okay, who inherited the money, who points at some other asshole and says, pull up your bootstraps. We should just shoot him on sight. I mean, the hypocrisy is so obscene that, yeah, they should just be shot on sight. But anyway, we don't need the rich. They're superfluous to the function of the system. They produce nothing but waste. So, yeah, there's no excuse for having them. None. And especially the ones that don't do anything. The ones that inherited. Fuck that. We don't need any of that shit. So, yeah, $1 million, that's the limit. The end. You only inherit $1 million. You can't get more than that. Fuck you. If you can't survive on $1 million, you're too lame. Darwin rules. Fuck you. Die. You know, if that's not a big enough head start for you, you're too lame. And, you know, so that fixes a big hole in the economy, which is the acquisition of surplus and the inflation of prices based on perpetual ownership, perpetual taking things off the market, perpetual scarcity created by possession, ownership, and rental. Anyway, The other part of that is the waste of the rich, so that's a whole other issue, but it's not even, like I said, we fixed it by getting rid of inheritance, so it's not really an issue anymore. Then all you have is the corporate problem, which is, again, the rich man problem, because the owners want profit. They don't really care about society. They don't care about what's good for people. They just want to sell product at the most outrageously expensive price to make the most money. So deception, sure, deceive the fuck out of them. Poor quality, yeah, fuck them, poison them if you can. As long as we can't get sued. They just don't care. It's all about the money. So these kind of owners, we don't want these kind of owners. We want owners who aren't interested. We don't want owners. So no. Yeah, let's just do it simple. We don't need the owners. We just need rational management. Management that has a brain and can figure out how to produce a product and how to get people to show up to work and do their jobs, and have some sort of plan for the company, some sort of way to be innovative and smart. Not difficult to do. So you just need a system of accountability. And traditionally the problem is if you create a company that's a not-for-profit, but all the people in the not-for-profit are the owners, then all of a sudden they start writing fine print because they want an extra 2 weeks vacation. So as soon as you turn employees into owners, you turn them into assholes. So you just need you need some sort of balance. So obviously government employee union, another example, right? They're just thieves. Oh yeah, I showed up to work, so give me a raise. What, you're not doing any more work and you just expect a raise for showing up? That sounds kind of stupid. You should be doing some kind of new kind of work. You should be improved in your job in some way. Especially if you want quadruple or zazuple your starting salary, then you should be producing zazuple amount of extra work. And obviously a 6th grade teacher isn't going to be able to do that. And so we could just go on and on about all the silly ways people are preposterously overpaid for not doing any work, not being very productive, let's just say. So the only thing what I'm basically saying is look, you just create not-for-profits and just create a balance of power between the consumers and the workers, including the management. Management is now a worker. Okay, they're not CEOs, they're just management. And just create a balance of power. So consumers have some vote over who CEOs these companies, who runs them, and the workers have half a vote. There's a balance between those two interests, because we're all consumers and we're all theoretically producers. We all want to get paid decent when we're workers, and we all want fairness when we're consuming. And so if I'm watching you, you can watch me. We can watchdog each other in terms of forcing each other to be fair. What's no harm, no foul. It'll work. It'll be 100 times more efficient than the system we have now. Guaranteed. Okay, so anyway, I'm just saying, so those two fixes, the economy's fixed. Not-for-profit businesses, okay, you can still keep your corporate world for a while, because I'm just saying, I'll drive them out of business. Give me a not-for-profit, give me the reins to a not-for-profit corporation that sells insurance, and I'll drive the little lizard out of business. Give me the reins to any company and give me any task, and I'll drive the competition out of business. Okay, because if I'm not wasting money on dividends, profits, yachts, corporate this, company that, people gleaning profit out of the business, and my only ambition is to create the best product at the best price to keep the consumers happy, and the workers happy, and a balance between those two things, yeah, I'll kill them. Anyway. So what else? Okay, so now I'll just give an analogy to the fact that the mystic is sort of saying cash is broken, because that's why we need this new currency. Somehow the currency is broken. So let's understand, the currency is not broken. The currency is just fine. It's just all the other contract paper that's broken. So again, you can go through all the list of what there is in the world. The reserve notes, the Fed reserve notes, and then you got, I mean that they never go into circulation. The cash, which is the printed money, which does go into circulation through the banks, but only through them. The banks have their own notes, so you have bank notes. So you have cash that goes through banks, and then you got bank notes. So these two do go through banks, but they are very different things. The bank digits aren't cash. Cash is cash. Okay. And then you have all the other contract paper, bonds and stocks, all the other crap. And then you have deeds. So deeds are as good as deeds. You could almost say are better than any of this crap, because they're just basically a statement saying you own something, a piece of property. Drip in the porch there. Raining and such. Someone ought to fix that. I mean, they don't make it. See, this is another just an example, right? I mean, I used to buy roofing material 20 years ago, and this stuff would last 25 years. You buy roofing material now, and it says it lasts 25-year guarantee, and it's crumbly crap after 10 years. And to get them on the guarantee, it's probably, not only do you have to have receipts for what you purchased, but somehow you're going to have to prove that you didn't do something wrong, or something. So you're going to have to go through a whole legal case to get your refund of a purchase price that won't even cover the new product price. So, sort of pointless. Yeah, that's the other point. They're charging you 5 times as much, 10 times as much. I mean, the price of shingles has just gone insane. So anyway, just really irritating. So I'm going with metal next time. Yep, metal roof. Anyway, dink, 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 dink. I'll take the noise over the drip, 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 drip. Anyway, it's a whole separate subject, really. So anyway, cash is just fine. There's only so much cash has been held to it, but it's obviously in peril if there's a run on the bank, right? So if there's some run where people have to get out of their stock paper or their bond paper or their bank notes and actually have to get real cash because they have to make some sort of real transaction or pay taxes or do something important, yeah, then there'll be a run on cash, and then there'll be a real problem because all this other fake paper will die and people will lose their fortunes and everybody will be bankrupt, and nobody will be, it just starts breaking everything. Nobody has jobs, nobody has money. Businesses won't invest in people because they can't make money, so they close businesses down, which means less people have jobs. It just spirals into the toilet. Great Depression, blah blah blah. And yeah, we're set up for that. But it's not cash's fault. Cash was perfectly good barter, perfectly good contract paper. So having a new currency isn't going to fix the problem. If you make a new currency, what do you think people aren't going to borrow on that currency? You don't think somebody's going to start lending people their kilowatt hours at profit? Of course they are. So you're just going to end up have the same mechanism once again created. And which we, ideally we want to take advantage of mass production. We want to take advantage of the efficiencies of industrialization. It's hugely more efficient. And so why, yeah, of course we all want that. We want the, a hospital, good big hospital, not little shitty hospital. We want one that has all the technology and the shit and all that kind of crap. So yeah, you want things done right, not things done half-ass all over the place. You want things done to the maximum efficiency. So anyway, the thing to look at this thing like is, let's just say there's 40 horses. Okay, let's say there's 2 sets of 40 horses. There's 40 horses that are wanting food and getting combed and manicured, and so there's wanters. Okay, these are the wanting horses, and these are the working horses, right? So the idea is to get the most work possible out of these horses, and to get these horses to, share and, do things right, right? So you can think of the fact that, you want the work horses have to be, you don't want to work them to death, but you want to give them plenty of incentives to improve themselves, to educate themselves, to gain more skills. So you want to have some incentive system, some system that has a progression, that you get rewarded for being more competent or better at your job or inventive or some other thing, that there's some system that will reward you for your benefit to the system, but that gives you this incentive. And the feeders, again, you don't want like one big fat horse to eat all the food, to use all the resources produced by the workers. And that's what needs to be understood, is that some welfare person, they're not doing any work, they're not productive at all, they're just consuming out of the system. So clearly it's perfectly reasonable to say, you suck, to point your finger at them and say, man, you suck at being productive, because they do. And likewise, the same is true of the rich. It's perfectly reasonable to look at one rich person who's consuming an obscene amount of work. Okay, it's like the regular horse gets by on a hamburger, right? So it takes 5 minutes to prepare, blah, 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 low resource, blah blah blah. And this rich guy needs filet mignon, he needs it touched, and he needs it manicured, and he needs little faces painted on it, and all this 10 hours work for a hamburger. And it's like that with everything the rich have, right? Everything they have takes for a ton of labor has to go into it. So these rich people eat a ton of work. Where at least the welfare slut, outside of her baby production, doesn't eat that much. Isn't that expensive. Okay, you give them 10 grand to live on, and they live on it. Where the rich person pisses through that in 4 hours. Okay. So that's something the mystic just doesn't get, that it matters how piggish you are, how much work you waste in your life. It's it's like your, what do they call that, your green profile, or your, see, I forget things too, and it's really irritating lately. I have a great coincidence story, but I don't know if I'll tell it. But it's just because I couldn't remember a name. The person, I couldn't remember their name. They ended up on a box that I was, it was just amazing, that in the same day you're saying, I can't remember somebody's name in a separate conversation, and then the person shows up on a box, and you're like, holy shit. But anyway, very strange. But coincidences are inevitable. So you just say, well, that was inevitable. So there's a word for that. Carbon footprint. There we go. Okay, so your carbon footprint. So we could just say that we have a kind of footprint, consumption footprint, but we want to balance it with our production. Our production ratio to our consumption ratio kind of thing. Because we do the work thing and the food thing. We're both consumers and producers in our lives. And so obviously some people have a really good ratio. They do a lot of productive work, and they don't eat much, and they don't take much, and they don't use much. And so they're really good humans. And then other people are just pigs. And the rich are pigs, obscene pigs. You'd have to have a population of 50% welfare whores or something to be as big a blight as the richest 1% are, in terms of the resources they waste, how much work has to be done to satisfy their gluttony. And then when you add up again all the work we do, not because we have an efficient system, but because we have this horribly inefficient system. So we have to have all these rules about this and all these rules about that, and because they're always trying to cheat us, and they have to have the ingredients in the box, and they have to do this, and they have to, because they always want to cheat. They always want to frickin' cheat. So we have to have inspectors, and we have to do this, and we have to do that, because they won't play a fair game. And nobody wants to make anybody accountable, because everybody's part of the crookery. You don't want to make lying illegal because, oh, everybody's a fucking liar making money doing it. But anyway, all that creates extra work is the point. So it ruins your human footprint. Your productivity footprint gets destroyed by the fact that the labor you're doing is probably just chicanery. Your job probably sucks. You're probably just engineering waste into the system. You're just creating friction and getting paid to do it because it makes somebody else money. So that's sort of the big picture, in my opinion, is this viewpoint of what are we really after here? We're after comfort in the end for human beings. And we know that for many people that means giving a liver transplant or some other bullshit, which I wouldn't include as comfort. But that's another thing where you can be pretty cynical, right? You can say if, all the things we do, like watching videos on the internet's a lot more efficient than having a liver transplant because you're paying for the infrastructure that everybody else is using. You're creating mass production, which creates efficiency, so everybody pays less in the end. So it's a very productive system to pay into because it's infrastructure. Where like hospitals and healthcare and all this kind of stuff, there's no real productivity to it. I mean, keeping you alive from going from 85 to 95, society doesn't benefit in any way. Most 85-year-olds aren't producing anything but, noxious gases. So they're not really very useful. So they're kind of just a big waste of money. But it's just the truth. I'm not saying we should kill old people. I'm not saying people shouldn't be attached to the fact that they're going to live as many seconds as possible because they're selfish cunts. Well, let's just recognize you're just being a selfish cunt. There's nothing else to say. You're just wasting resources, maintaining a subpar existence because you're a whore for it. You're addicted to it. No other good reason. No good reason. You're addicted to it. It's not in the category of good reasons. It's called a shitty reason. So anyway, so we have this footprint thing in our lives, and the idea is to find systems and mechanisms that just make us all capable of elevating our footprint. Getting more good out of us and less bad out of us. Higher efficiency in the little automobiles called human. And we kind of know what efficiency is. Efficiency is don't drink too much gas and create lots of zoom in the world. So again, I'll just metaphor it broadly, big picture. It's just a game. And all you want to do is create nice little chalk lines and have cameras so you can see if somebody really committed the foul, and have umpires, and there's lots of ways to do this really efficient and have a really fair game that works really well at creating comfort and forcing the least amount of work, but at a very good level of productivity. Yeah, I mean, getting them, you want people to be productive. And you want like some sort of, obviously there has to be a balance here somewhere. You can't just have slaves and people who live off the labor of the slaves. So yeah, you want a little bit of the heart to be in everyone's life so they know what it is to work. And you want them also to get their share, their piece of the comfort pie, proportional to their productivity. Seems reasonable. How much pie you get should have something to do with how productive you are. Yeah, so that's sensibly going to be probably related to how much work you do. So we should be paying workers, not owners. And we certainly shouldn't be paying people that fell out of vaginas as their only qualification, their only accomplishment in life. I fell out of the right vagina. Well, that you shouldn't be paid for. Yeah, this is probably enough. I didn't really do any drawing. Yeah, I really didn't. So this piece of paper can definitely go in the trash. Well, I really, I've done it before, so I guess there's no point in going over it again and again. So I'm just putting my counter overview that I think the big picture is first has nothing to do with the economy. It has just to do with recognizing that that this life thing is just stupid anyway. But the fact is, you do have to pay for it. If you're going to play the game, we have to pay for the game. The game will cost something, and we have to distribute the price, which is the work, fairly, and then we have to distribute the gain fairly. And fairness doesn't mean whoever has the biggest mouth gets the most food, and whoever's got the most skills has to do the most work. I mean, that's just stupid. Yeah. Or whoever's the most desperate. Because that's all we're doing now, right? We're letting desperation define wages, which is just fucking evil. I mean, how could Mystic? How could you even argue with me about humans need to learn their assholes when we're living in a world where we're letting desperation define the minimum wage? I mean, I'm sorry, but that's pretty much evil. Yeah. Okay, enough of a video. And such.